Iwan Jahotank, Evak Idum, Hakulo Imanch. Me estoy alegre de estar aquí con todos ustedes. Gracias to Kamal and Cecilia for inviting me to be in constellation with all of you and all of the wonderful conversations that are happening. Postcolonial Love Poem. I've been taught bloodstones can cure a snake bite, can stop the bleeding. Most people forgot this when the war ended. The war ended depending on which war you mean. Those we started before those millennia ago and onward, those which started me, which I lost and won, these ever-blooming wounds. I was built by wage, so I wage love and worse, always another campaign to march across a desert night for the cannon flash of your pale skin, settling in a silver lagoon of smoke at your breast. I dismount my dark horse, bend to you there, deliver you the hard pool of all my thirsts. I learned drink in a country of drought. We pleasure to hurt, leave marks the size of stones, each a cabochon polished by our mouths. I, your lapidary wheel turning green, mottled red, the jaspers of our desires. There are wildflowers in my desert which take up to 20 years to bloom. The seeds sleep like geodes beneath hot feldspar sand until a flash flood bolts the arroyo, lifting them in its copper current, opens them with memory. They remember what their God whispered into their ribs. Wake up and ache for your life. Where your hands have been are diamonds on my shoulders, down my back, thighs. I am your culebra. I am in the dirt for you. Your hips are quartz light and dangerous, two rose-horned rams ascending a soft desert wash before the November sky untethers 100-year flood. The desert returns suddenly to its ancient sea. Arise the wild heliotrope, scorpion weed, blue phacelia, which hold purple the way a throat can hold the shape of any great hand. Great hands is what she called mine. The rain will eventually come or not. Until then, we touch our bodies like wounds. The war never ended and somehow begins again. You're all very generous. We've been talking a lot about language, the importance of it, how we're going to call things. And I think it's something to think about is that there's all language in the US, even the English language, it's seeded with and embedded with indigenous lexicons. And so they're here. There's an entire knowledge system here that could be invited into conversations like this. People who've been doing the work of making before it became called art. And so this poem is me simply trying to ask myself the power of language, and in this case, in relationship to anxiety. What is the power when we give something an other name, or we try to take the colonial name away from it? From the desire field. I don't call it sleep anymore. I'll risk losing something new instead. Like you lost your rosen moon, shook it loose. But sometimes when I get my horns in a thing, a wonder, a grief, or a line of her, it is a sticky and ruined fruit to unfasten from, despite my trembling. Let me call my anxiety desire, then. Let me call it a garden. Maybe this is what Lorca meant when he said, verde, que te quiero verde. Because when the shade of night comes, I am a field of it, of any worry ready to flower in my chest. My mind in the dark is una bestia, unfocused, hot, and if not yoked to exhaustion beneath the hip and plow of my lover, then I am another night wandering the desire-filled, bewildered in its low green glow, belling the meadow between midnight and morning. Insomnia is like spring that way, surprising and many-petaled, the kick and leap of gold grasshoppers at my brow. I am struck in the witched hours of want. I want her green life, her inside me in a green hour I can't stop. Green vein in her throat, green wing in my mouth, green thorn in my eye. I want her like a river goes, bending. Green, moving. Fast as that, this is how it happens. Soy una sonambula. And even though you said today you felt better, and it is so late in this poem, is it okay to be clear, to say, I don't feel good? To ask you to tell me a story about the sweetgrass you planted, and tell it again or again until I can smell its sweet smoke leave this thrashed field and be smooth? Yeah. I'm going to read 2 more poems and you guys are being very generous. Gracias. I grew up on a reservation out in the desert, the California-Arizona desert. So I didn't know what a feminist was, and then as I got into college, I wasn't sure I was one. But I'm thinking about some of the conversations we were having, and I didn't make it to an art museum until I was well into my mid to late 20s. And so I was thinking of the feminist conversation yesterday, and when I think about all the different ways the group has been constellating and trying to figure out how do we call ourselves as collectives, how do we call ourselves individually in autonomy. And I think one of those ways, right, like I say, I grew up on a reservation, wasn't around art until much later, or these concepts by which we identify ourselves. But one thing I did learn on the reservation is that we are all of consequence to one another. Where I lived, my neighbor was my family. The people down the road were, even if not my blood family, were my people. And so everything, I realized everything I did affected somebody else. And so the conversations that are being had here, they're extremely important. And I think also important to imagine who we're counting in those. And, sometimes it's great to count an artist who maybe has been underrepresented in certain ways, or count a curator. And I think you also have to count their beloveds and the places they've come from and their ancestors. And so this poem is, it's me thinking about murdered, missing Indigenous women. There is no formal count for them in the United States, just as there is no formal count for murdered, missing Black women in the United States. And so this is me turning toward that because these things matter as much in this room, even though they're happening further away. And it's making a new world. And so, colony. The coyotes are on the beach, vacuuming tonight's terrible light with their eyes. They puncture the river's sleep with holes of blue-green eyeshine. The river rolls over, awake. The coyotes are baptizing the rabbits, dunking them in the shallow water. The rabbits play dead in the coyotes' mouths, but jolt and cry out when they break the water. The river is cold, and they shake, the rabbits. I've never seen a rabbit swim, and no rabbits will swim tonight. The river because it is the scene of their crimes. The river because it will clean us of what the rabbits have done. The rabbits are not from here. They come from another territory of night, from a different moon. The rabbits are white, which is not a color, but how fast it twitches. The rabbits disappear our women. Maybe not these rabbits yet, but rabbits like these, and soon. White rabbits as call and response, a multiplication. The game where everyone holds hands, then someone squeezes, sends a signal, and everyone sends the same signal they receive. If that game were forever and played by rabbits, rabbits so white their eyes are pink. The rabbits took my cousin. They collapsed her down to a greasy spot somewhere, like when your brother backs the truck out of the driveway and the truck leaves behind an iridescent liqueur on the ground, so you sprinkle sand over it to absorb the stain. The coyotes are a night shift, a labor of shades against the pebbled shore. They are a range of blue-black mountains reorganizing weight, a dusk. With more night happening, the rabbits become stranger. Their ears are slicked back, like men. I try not to ask myself, what is a rabbit? I can't explain the rabbit, but I feel it. I've felt it my entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. I don't know what it is, but it's there, a white blot in my mind. The question distracts me, and a rabbit kicks its body free. The noisy shadow tangles and disrupts the coyote's feet. One of the coyote's shape transforms. It opens all of its mouths and recaptures the rabbit. At first, the cry of a rabbit is the cry of a baby. Then the cry becomes something there are no words for. The cry of a rabbit will make you cry, unless you are hungry, or the rabbit has pulled your cousin out of your life by her hair. The coyotes plunge the rabbits into the river 4 times. One of the rabbit's ears flap in the wind like empty violet shirt sleeves. Each time they are sunk in the water, the rabbits become more quiet. The silence embers the coyote's eyes copper, chrysocolla. Some of the rabbits hang upside down, staring off and soothed by the moon, who is also soaked with river and whose light trickles out from the middle of the water to the shore in tremors. Wounds move this same drenched way. The mesquite trees along the jetty are tap-rooted in the water. When you gash a mesquite trunk or cut its branches, its skin seeps red gold sap, weeps and crusts an amber blister. The rabbits wish to begin healing, but their wounds are happening now. The rabbits wish to cicatrix. Rabbits are always too late. The rabbit's cries have become choked with water or the coyote's teeth, most likely with blood and fur, a burbling. The river and its bullfrogs are also sounds. A fish leaps from the water and falls back into it. I should have said the rabbits were screaming, not crying. I'm the one crying. On nights like this, everything is wet as tears. The coyotes move in a group how mourners move around a pyre, how authorities move to the door of a family whose daughter or mother has gone missing. Not a tight pack, but a breathing, how fingers brush one another on their own hand. The coyotes' tails are down. The rabbits aren't saying anything anymore. They were another kind of quiet before this, before the screaming. The rabbits have never wanted to talk about what they have done. This rabbit quiet is a new quiet. Tufts of pale fur rock in a foam onto shore, then off, back to, and off again. It never settles. The coyotes clean the rabbits with the river and clean us of the rabbits. They lick the terrible light from one another's faces and eyes. But what the rabbits have done is still done. The coyotes know this and cry the spilling moonlight back to the moon. The moon crusts and closes. The coyotes leave the beach one at a time. We are all clean and lonely. And I'll finish on this last poem. A mentor and friend of mine, Linda Tuhiwai Smith, I was in a conversation with her recently. She wrote Decolonizing Methodology. Some of you might know of the book. But she was saying, she was like, Indigenous being, like, it's not being the sum of your wounds or what's happened to you. And she's like, it's not even these grand moments of resistance. It's not the successes with which the non-Indigenous world measure you by. But she was saying, like, Indigenous being, it's the smallest things you do. It's the mundane. Those things that you do that become small acts of self-determination. And I know this has been a conference of big ideas, and also it's some of the small ideas that just have to be done every day that I think many of you are doing behind the scenes, the little tiny moments that for me, I do believe are self-determining. And so I'll end on this last poem, which also to me feels like a celebration of women and a very mundane thing. I watch her eat the apple. She twirls it in her left hand, a small red merry-go-round. According to the white oval sticker, she holds apple number 4016. I've read in some book or other of 4,015 fruits she held before this one, each equally dizzied by the heat in the tips of her fingers. She twists the stem, pulls it like the pen of a grenade, and I just know. Somewhere someone is sitting alone on a porch, bruised, opened up to their wet white ribs, riddled by her teeth. Lucky. With her right hand, she lifts the sticker from the skin. Now the apple is more naked than any apple has been since two bodies first touched the leaves of ache in the garden. Maybe her apple is Macintosh. Maybe red delicious. I only know it is the color of something I dreamed, something I gave to her after being away for 10,000 nights. The apple pulses like a red bird in her hand. She is setting the red bird free, but the red bird will not go. So she pulls it to her face as if to tell it a secret. She bites, cleaving away a red wing. The red bird sings. Yes, she bites the apple, and there is music. A branch breaking, a ship undone by the shore, a knife making love to a wound, the sweet scrape of a match lighting the lamp of her mouth. This blue world has never needed a woman to eat an apple so badly, to destroy an apple, to make the apple bone, and she does it. I watch her eat the apple, carve it to the core and set it wobbling on the table. A broken bell I beg to wrap my red skin around until there is no apple. There is only this woman who is a city of apples. There is only me licking the juice from the streets of her palm. If there is a God of fruit or things devoured, and this is all it takes to be beautiful, then God, please let her eat another apple tomorrow.